Hello all, namaskar, good morning. Welcome to Zinc Podcast, Zooming in Youth Networking and Careers. I am Sandeep Sharma, host of Zinc Podcast. The latest podcast series is Rewiring Supply Chain, the Digital Transformation Odyssey. This podcast series is about the digital transformation. And I got an opportunity to speak extensively with Veena Theagarajan. Veena is based in Singapore and is a global digital transformation senior leader with around 30 years of experience working with various multinational organizations with global digital transformation initiatives. In this four-part series, Speaking with Veena, I have tried to decode how technology, people, and purpose are reshaping supply chains worldwide. In this series, we have talked about many topics, right from the basics, fundamentals of digital transformations to more complex and contemporary topics, including the foundation of digital transformation, AI, Gen AI, agentic AI, as well as the data ethics, ERP integration and digital ecosystems, digitalization and automation tools, data analysis and big data, project and program management, software development and agile transformation, ROI, large scale programs and executive buy in, risk governance and strategy in transformation. Digitalization in GCC GVS environment versus core supply chain processes like S2C, S2P, P2P, and others. Future of work, tech and tools, MSME enablement in India, ESG and reasonable supply chain transformation, leadership talent and career growth, leading culture, leading change and stakeholders, inclusion, privacy, and empowering women. The point which is very close to Veena, and she is mentor to many women. The last one, and not the least for sure, is the mentorship, mindset, and learning, where Veena is sharing her extensive experience and guidance and suggestion to all our viewers. So, in this series, Veena uncovers how digital is not just about the tools, it is about transforming how we work, how we learn, and how we lead. So, whether you are a student, you are a professional, or a leader driving the change, this series is going to give you a 360-degree view of the digital supply chain revolution. So, let's dive in and start rewiring the supply chains for the future. Thank you. Hi, so this is a session one, which we can term as automation to transformation. So when people hear about the word digital, they instantly think of tools, isn't it? Or shiny ERP or multiple other tools. A new automation bot, or maybe some AI, right? But in this episode, Veena peels back the layers to show that transformation is not about the tools, it is about thinking about them. We start with the foundations, how companies often chase automation hoping it will magically solve the deeper business or the process issues. And then we explore why true transformation needs process redesign, behavior change, the incremental learning, and not just big bang projects. As the discussions go further, we go deeper into AI, Gen AI, agentic AI, and the ethics behind the responsible data usage, and why even the best algorithm fails in the organization when the organization isn't ready. We discuss ERP modernization, integration challenges across legacy and cloud, computer vision, digital twins, and how hybrid ecosystems evolve. And then there's the human side, building trust, managing risk, shaping governance, and creating a value proposition that connects people, purpose, and technology. This episode is the awakening. The moment when you realize digital transformation is not a sprint or tools, it's a journey of mindset, redesign, and discipline evolution. That's the session one. Do watch it and watch all the sessions of this podcast series, Rewiring Supply Chain, the Digital Transformation Odyssey. Thank you.
Hi, Veena. Good morning.
Hey Sandeep, good morning.
Welcome to Zinc Podcast, and really a great thank you to you to accept this invitation to be one of the hosts for Zinc Podcast, Veena. It's really a great pleasure to have you today.
Actually, it's a pleasure for me to be on it, right? Because I know you're doing some wonderful job here. So it's good to share the experience and, inspire more people to come into this digital world. So looking forward to the conversation.
Yes, so Veena, so digitalization in supply chain, and you have a whole lot of experience and a deep experience available there. So maybe you can give a bit of glimpse about your work experience, how and where did you start, so that people are able to connect with you a bit.
Yeah, sure. Well, I by study, I'm computer science. So
Okay.
I started off with the IT world, the typical IT coding and,
Okay.
releasing codes into productions and stuff like that. Uh, Probably 2 years into it, it didn't really excite me so much because, those days back in 90s, right? IT is treated more like a back end, right? And people decide somewhere, and then you just need to execute it and deliver it, right? So
Yeah.
I really want to be on the table to define the strategy and really drive the digitalization or at those days is digital transformation, right? So
Yeah.
um, to the organization and really create a value with the technology. Because there's no point in having new technology being implemented and being a white elephant if it is not
Mm.
being used, right? So, really, how do you really understand the business needs and how do you put the technology to deliver that value back to them? So, I moved into the techno functional role, if you want to call it that way. I've been through like ODMs, EMS, and
Okay.
now back to ODM. So different kind of organization, even supply chain, if you really think about it, each organization has its own definition.
Yeah.
In the current company I'm at, it's actually starting from all the way from the quotes to even do the back after sales services, right?
Okay.
But the the first company is like it's just like, you take the order and deliver it. So that's the supply
Mm.
chain for them. So
Okay.
it's all kind of a different thing. So I have worked in different parts of the supply chain and end-to-end supply chain,
Okay.
and also, I mean, different industry,
Mm-hmm.
from cars to
Okay.
shoelaces to, medicals and all of that. So what excites me is really in this role, you tend to learn every day, right?
Yeah.
Even though I'm like 30 plus years of experience
Yeah.
in supply chain. But I mean, even like yesterday, you learn something new. So that's what is excites me, right? So, yeah. So I've been on this digital transformation role for like
Mm-hmm.
probably more than 25 years. So
Oh.
the initial
Okay.
5 was really IT, but yeah, that's that's what it is.
Totally agree. And 25 years in digital transformation, and the world is now changing very fast with the advent of AI and the new technologies, right? So it is definitely going to be exciting session. Speaking to you, Veena, on the different technologies and what exactly the digital transformation is. So, for the benefit of our viewers and audience, which are primarily my target audience is the youngsters all across. And I just want to understand, give them this opportunity to connect with the industry leaders like you, Veena. Right. So maybe let's start with the very foundational questions of what exactly the digital transformation is for you. How somebody should understand what exactly the digital transformation is.
In my view, digital transformation is something that you use technology to change the way how you're working. It could be simple as the continuous improvement step, or it could be
Yeah.
something that you're leap forward to a completely different ways of how you work, right? But it is not, I mean, but then I think the second one actually what gives you the better leverage or better outcome. So for me, it is more about how do you change your way of working and drive, improvement, or not just improvement, but rather position yourself as a unique
Yeah.
USP for your process of your company, right? I mean, I always tell people that you don't really look at technology as you always want to be first on new technology.
Yep.
And now, like, in the AI world, everybody wants to be agentic AI, but,
Yeah.
without even working on their foundation, which will never give you the results that everybody is talking about, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
really need to take the step by step approach to get to a final state. But it it's really like how do you use your technology to drive value to your business, right? And that's to
Yeah.
me is a digital transformation. I mean, in the industry, people also call it as a digitalization. So I'm more
Yeah.
fond of a digitalization than implementing some technology product or solutions, which you still continue to do the way you are doing.
Yeah.
Before after is the same, right? So then it's not really a digital transformation in that sense.
So, Veena, you have been into this sphere for last 25 years. So, what digital transformation looked like when you started, and what it looked like maybe pre-COVID, maybe 4 or 5 years back, and what is the definition now? How the things are evolving?
I would say that in the past, when you really talk about digital transformation, you really need to tell people what exactly is a digital transformation is. And to bring people with you to do that change is big shift in a way, or you have to put in a lot of effort, right? But today in this AI world, I see there are more appetite for people to really embrace it and also willing to rethink about how they work. Even like yesterday, I was talking to one of the material manager, and he was with the company for like probably about 25 years. And in his mind, a PO processing is a PO processing, right? I mean, what can you do with AI? And I
Mm-hmm.
had this conversation with him like a year and a half ago. And his point was like, well, this is just a transaction. What can you do with the AI? And yesterday, he was like completely changed, right? And he was like, hey, Veena, I heard a lot about what is going on in the industry. I do think that we can really shift the way how we work, completely change the way how we work. I really want to relook at how we are managing our transactions, right? And I do know that today people are really willing to take that risk, willing to go like, what you think impossible in the past, right? And I mean, people are talking about why do I need even ERP today, right? So
Yeah.
in a way, what I feel is like in the past, it has been a lot of work and a lot of selling, a lot of lobbying for you to even get a simple transformational stuff. But today, I think there is more pull happening, and probably it's the right time for us to be there and engage them and do the transformation. So,
So, what exactly the companies or the businesses are looking forward from digital transformation? Is purely cost, or is it efficiency, or a mix of that? You just given one example of one of the person you have been working with. So, what exactly it has looked at the different levels of the organizations?
I guess, I mean, efficiency is definitely one of it, right? But again,
Mm-hmm.
on beyond that, people are start thinking about how do I change your business structure, which will allow them to be nimble, which will allow them to be resilient, which will allow them to be like, compliant to all the ESG goals and everything else. How technology can help accelerate some of those journey that companies are doing, right? So, in my view, right now, efficiency is just one element of it. What people are looking
Yeah.
at, but really, how do you transform the business for the future is something that is also driving these conversation today. I mean, it could be how you delight your customers better, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you uniquely position yourself? So I mean, those days are gone when when you're trying to put an ROI on the table, people
Yeah.
always look for what's the efficiency that you can bring it to the table, right? Whether it's
Mm-hmm.
a workforce reduction or how do you do it with the less people and all of that. But today they are even talking about whether this is going to bring additional revenue to the business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that it's much more beyond efficiency alone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So, how do we define the success of a transformation or digital uh, project whenever we are working on it? So, you just explained about the efficiencies, productivity, and the revenue part of it. So, how is the success defined per se?
Well, it depends on individual initiatives that you're going after. In the way that how I look at the success is, first of all, how well this is getting adopted in the user base, right?
Mm,
And once you have that adoption well, the results comes automatically. I think, of course, people measure it I mean, at least I measure it in like a five major KPIs, if you want to call it
mm-hmm.
that, right?
Yeah.
Which basically how customers are seeing us
Mm-hmm.
differently, the before and after. As employee life improves because in this world, your younger generation is
Yeah.
looking for the work-life balance, right? And this generations are mobile generation, and when they come
Yes.
into work, they are expecting similar touch and feel and ease of doing the job, right?
Yeah.
So that employee experience is also very important because
Yeah.
that tells you whether they're going to stick with you or they're going to look out. Because I can tell you that keeping them on like a single job is also going to be very challenging in the
Yeah.
future. And then, of course, the third one is all about like, typical business KPIs where you talk about cost avoidance,
Yeah,
revenue generations, and those stuff, right? But in general, in my experience, if the tools are adopted or if the solution is adopted, rest is like given in a way. It's automatically comes, right? So I would say that focus on the result. Of course, at the end of the day, your results have to speak for your project, but then
yes.
focus on your adoption, work with the users continuously, and be agile because in today, technologies are changing every day.
Yeah,
What you know yesterday is like changing today, right? Every day, first thing in the morning, I ask my team, is there any new thing comes or new thing announced? So
true.
in a way, yeah, I mean, it's just that keep it updated, right? And your solution has to be agile enough to plug and play as well.
Yes. I fully agree, Veena. So changing the life of the employees and first of all the customer, it's that I believe which would truly matter from the digital transformation perspective. So any specific, any particular myth you would like to debunk? What digital transformation is not and probably considered generally? Anything like that?
Well, I think people talk about like, your simple automation is a
Yeah.
digital transformation, right? In my view, that's just like your day-to-day, like repetitive tasks that you're
Yeah.
automating, right? Digital transformation is more than that in the sense, and then people say implementing new ERP system from their a traditional one is a transformation. Well, it is a transformation if you change your process, but if you don't do it, it's a lift and shift from your
Mm.
X number of your old legacy systems into I mean, whether it's SAP or whether it is Oracle, to me, then it's not really a digital transformation. It's just a technology upgrade, right?
Mm.
So in my view, any technical or any digital solution that you're putting in place, which is just lift and shift of your process, is not really a transformation.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You really need to look for opportunities to really rethink, standardize, and then you reimagine your processes, right? And that's when you really see the bigger benefits, right? So I always against the lift and shift. In my view, lift and
Mm-hmm.
shift, even if people are saying that I just going to lift and shift from X data lake to Databricks, Snowflake,
Yeah.
and all of that, right? My question is why? Why do we need to put
Okay.
in so much of effort to really do
Okay.
that, right? So yeah.
So you just talked about a lift and shift. So it should be incremental win, or maybe the companies are definitely the managers or the senior management also are really get into okay, just quickly do that, right? So for you, like what I am able to understand that it should be incremental win. We should have a clear picture in front of us what exactly we want to do it, right? And then do it incrementally. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of incremental win, but then that doesn't mean that there are reasons why you want to go for a big bang. But I think the incremental win from a change management perspective is resulting better. I mean, giving us a better result compared to the big bang. And also in the evolving technology, I mean, even though people say, I want to have it and I want to change it, but they can't really imagine what it means to them, right? So
Mm.
when you're actually doing an incremental way, they do really embrace it better and re-implement their process better. I have also seen cases. It also goes back to your organization maturity, how much risk appetite that they have, right?
Yep.
So and also how process stability. I mean, how stable the process is in the environment. So I mean, I have seen when the process are stable, when the process are when the team is okay to take the risk and they're
Okay.
okay to fail and
Mm.
readjust it, your big bang still works, right? But then
Mm.
incremental allows you to minimize the risk as well.
Okay.
So it also gives us like, I'm not a believer of a project more than 6 months,
Oh, okay.
regardless of whatever the implementation budgets were or the size of it or whatever,
Mm.
just because I have seen cases number of times where when you're embarking on a larger project, by the time you finish the project, everything changes, and we blame it on the users to say that, hey, this is a requirement change, right? Well, it's a requirement change because we took longer time, and during this period things changes. In today's world, I mean, you think about all the geopolitical stuff, let alone the technology, right? But even your geopolitical and some of that is actually changing your footprint so fast. Like, should we do it where, and where the suppliers are going to be, and all your natural disasters and some of this pandemic and things like that, which clearly tell us that, it's not going to be static decisions on the process anymore. So I feel that the smaller chunks is really helping us to adjust it and realign it if needed much better. Because I think that you're from the logistic industry. Before pandemic, we can negotiate for a year and we can be happy.
Yes.
But that's not the case today. Whole industry is changing faster than
Yeah, it is changing rapidly. So, Veena, you have touched upon almost every topic on the ERP, to agentic AI, to the automation, and of course, we would like to talk about each one of them in a bit in detail. So, jumping right away to the latest one, AI, as of now, because that is where I believe everyone is a bit more interested to understand what exactly is happening, because it's changing rapidly. And last night I was just checking about ChatGPT and the agentic AI on my system, and it was giving the freedom to look at the book the groceries in 10 minutes. It will do it itself. So in your view, how exciting this is going to be, and how sooner or later this is going to impact us now?
In my current role, I'm actually leading an AI automation for the company that I work in. So AI has been a day-to-day topic for me. I used to joke with people that, I think a month ago, I got some ad in my mobile. It says AI shampoo, right? I'm like, what the heck? What is this AI shampoo, right? Basically, it says that, you apply the shampoo on your head, and based on your hair conditions and all of that, it can auto color it or leave it, kind of a thing. I'm like, what the heck, right? I mean, today, if you think about it, everything that you use on a day-to-day stuff, forget about the bigger journey in the company, right? Everything that you do it in your office, at home, from your washing machine to your phones and, everything that you touch in the home, even from the lights and everything else. Right? People are saying that it's all AI driven today. Right? So, I mean, I think in my world, I mean, in my thought process, AI will change how we work, right? And people are talking about, well, it's going to take your job away or whatever. But in my view, it will help you to augment your work better. And it's going to be your companion rather than replacing you. I mean, I think with everything people say, reasoning, and it can think, it can adapt, it can be agile. And that's what whole agentic AI all about. It's still, I mean, people talk about all this AGI and ASI and all of that. But in my view, there are still decisions that there's going to be human dependent, right? I mean, if there is something new happening, there's no data to train for AI to make those decisions, right? So I would say that don't scare about AI taking your job. It's rather rethink about how you will work with the AI and how will you use AI to really augment it and have real work-life balance, right? That's basically where it is. Now, does everybody will have the similar growth or similar path on this AI implementation? I think it is going to differ. You can already see that there are certain industry which is progressing a lot faster, like healthcare, insurance, and finance and those stuff, right? Manufacturing industry is still like kind of, I would say, I wouldn't say it's beginning, but it's probably very early stages of reaping benefits, I would say. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So AI is there and it will be there for long.
And you have also talked about in one of your articles that data is the new currency. So how do we look at the data or the ethical use and all other aspects of data with AI?
In this AI world, actually, data is really going to be critical. Now, I think in the past, when you think about data, we think it's all about structured data, what I mean by that is like all your transactional data, what you collected through your ERPs and your inventory data and blah, all the other things, which is more structured in a table, right? Where in the past you have used dashboards and reports to present it and all of that. But I think it's like 20% of the data is structured, 80% of the data is unstructured, right? And that's what we are seeing today, right? And I think it is going to be all about how you bring in some of this unstructured data
Mm-hmm.
into AI ready, I call it,
Okay.
right? And I have been talking about this even in my current role much more, because unstructured data getting AI ready or keeping AI ready for all other use cases that you can build is really critical. Like example, right? In the past, when you really think about doing forecasting, demand forecasting, you think
Mm-hmm.
about you need a historical forecast, historical
Yeah.
demand, and historical shipments, right? Yeah, I mean, that gives you some leverage. But then today, there are models which actually perform far better when you integrate unstructured data about
Mm-hmm.
your key customers, right? Where whatever their financial reports or their latest announcements, and all of this is also giving different input, right? And actually, it also helps you to predict what could be the future, not just relying on historically what they have done. So it's really going to be critical for us to really look at how do you manage both structured and unstructured data, and really having that in a single definition. It doesn't have to be in a single place like a single data
Mm-hmm.
lake, right? I mean,
Okay.
that's what industry used to think some time
Mm-hmm.
ago, but today with all the technology availability, the data can be anywhere because you can do
Okay.
data virtualization. But really identifying where it is and how
Mm-hmm.
you can use it and how you can connect between the different silos is also very critical. So it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be in one place, but you need to know how to connect. So I still think that the data, whichever company has the data available for AI, will grow
Mm-hmm.
faster or will adopt AI faster for sure.
Okay. Now, I believe most of the companies are building their own Gen AI platforms, Veena. So
Right.
again, what are the challenges and how do you see as compared to what are the publicly available tools are there, right? So people at this stage, I believe, are more tempted to use the publicly available because they are trained on a vast amount of data as compared to what is available in a particular organization, which is still dependent upon the policies, securities, compliance, etc. So how do you see the shift happening and how the Gen AI tool within the organization will reshape the efficiencies?
In my thought process right now, right, it's going to be sort of a hybrid, meaning you will
Mm-hmm.
have tools which is developed within your organization from the
Mm-hmm.
scratch. But you will have some industry tools which is
Mm-hmm.
available, which you should be leveraging, should give you some benchmark data or like the industry specific training data, which you don't have it in a broader sense, right? But there are processes which are very unique to your organization, which you definitely need some sort of internal development per se. Now, in my current experience, actually, my son is also in computer science and he just
Okay.
joined a new company. He was talking to me yesterday. He's already implementing their own LLMs and own
Okay.
fine tuning and all of that. Whereas in my journey at the moment, we are still using LLM perspective, we are still using industry ones. But probably a year down the road, maybe we will have, I mean, in the roadmap, it is a year down the road where you will have
Yeah.
your own. Just because, some of this, you really need to make a right time or decide on a right time when you are like kind of changing your path. Because particularly when you do not have strong data for training and for inference, and like you have the culture in the organization who's using the solution and giving you the feedback to really fine tune the whole outcome. When that culture is there, I think you can go for your own. But if
Mm-hmm.
you're in your beginning of your journey, you are trying to sell the AI as a concept
Yeah.
and you're trying to get the culture going, I would say, off the shelf gives the advantage for us, right?
Mm.
So at this point, I would say that we are also at the I would say we are at accelerating journey at the moment, but probably our own probably will take it later. But my son company, they said like they're almost there for the last 5 years. They have been working on
Mm-hmm.
it, right? So he
Okay.
said that they have all the data and he's doing on his own LLM. So I would say that you really need to measure your maturity where you are in the organization or in your AI journey.
Mm-hmm.
Then you make a decision. But at the same time, when you have a specialized, like for example, when you have your TMS team who is very specialized in
Mm.
your transportation
Yeah.
world, the way how they train their agent, the way how they incorporate some of the newer stuff which is coming in the industry, will be faster than what you're doing internally for sure, right? So you just need to figure it out whether there is still an advantage for you to do hybrid or it has to be full, right? I think both, I mean, in my view, hybrid is the way to go
Okay.
because you also leverage what is happening with the industry much faster. And at the same time, from your workforce point of view, you can manage it in terms of available capacity to really the stuff that you need, which you need to specialize for the company. And then for the others, you can leverage something that's outside in the market.
Okay. So, Veena, any interesting use cases in supply chain you may like to give examples to the viewers?
Well, in supply chain, I think, anything that touches the customer is already known, right? Pretty much everybody is doing. But on the other hand, what is very interesting to me is really how you change your quality world because end to end, right? Not just one particular one, but end to end quality world with the computer vision. I mean, I know there is a lot of hype on a Gen AI. Computer vision is changing the way how you do your, quality and how you design your factory with the, like kind of a digital twins and stuff like that, which is really, I mean, when people talk about digital twin, obviously you have a data digital twin and process digital twin and your physical digital twin. I mean, we have been practicing all of it actually, and each one of it has its own advantage and disadvantages, right? These are all like, I think when it is in the production floor, people always talk about yield reductions and stuff like that, right? But I feel like the vision one, which is really completely transforming the world, transforming the way how people look at that, right? In the past, how many times you have to go to the supplier to qualify them? Today, you don't have to even make a single trip,
Yes. Yeah.
so you can qualify the supplier from wherever you are. The other interesting stuff, I mean, other things are all typical predictive stuff and prescriptive stuff, if you think about it, like all the forecasting and everything else.
Yeah.
But where I see the bigger advantage is really around how do you merge all this technology to provide an end-to-end process enablement, right? Through AI and automation. Like, for example, when I was looking at supplier management, I mean, you need obviously you need a data, but then you can do a simple automation to manage your PO creations and all of that. But really looking at what is your optimal time to really cancel the supply or really looking at inventory management side of it, right? How do you manage your incoming material, which is not aligned to your demand forecasting? That's again AI part of it. Now, when it hits your field, and then when you're really looking at some quality at the customer side, then it's a computer vision part of the AI, which actually looks at it and say whether you're within warranty, outside warranty, and within warranty, and it's our problem versus it's a customer problem. Because sometimes the way how customer handle the products is actually damaging it, right? So it's then you're not obligated to pay the warranty. How do you take all of these different technology which is available to enable the end-to-end process experience? I think that is where that is really going to provide a lot more value to the operation. And that's the thing that where I feel people are still figuring it out, because individual use cases, I think more or less everybody trying out, and some are successful, some are not. But really, how do you tie this as an end-to-end process, right? I think that's where it is bringing. Again, AI becomes like a wrapper around all of this. So as a layman terms, if you're looking for a status, if you're looking for where you could do better, blah blah, all those things, then you do
More
a
information.
GenAI on top of it, right? Yeah.
So wonderful. As you were explaining, I was just trying to visualize all that stuff. Still, whatever we do, we have broken processes, loose ends somewhere. And as you explained, I was just thinking, okay, this is what probably would be happening. All those broken processes, loose ends, and the dots will be getting connected, which we are not able to figure it out as of now. Wonderful. Definitely, it is going to be a lot more exciting. So, Veena, you also touch upon the ERP and what shape and size it will be in future. So that also probably going to be challenged or already getting challenged. How do you see that ERP journey getting evolved now?
I mean, it's definitely getting challenged. I mean, when you really think about manufacturing modules of ERPs, I mean, it's really sales order, PO, I mean, MRP and POs and inventory and those stuff, right? In today's world, I mean, all we need to do is how do we do a financial transactions, right? Your entire PO, physical PO, do we really need a physical PO? So those questions are being challenged because think about it, even in the past, even with the ERP, people use that to really record the transactions. They always had something around it to do it. Now, these AI systems are collecting all the data, every event that you're processing. So you don't need ERP to collect those data for you, actually. Yeah, I mean, the question is if we can figure it out, I mean, if we can figure it out, all the financial transactions and from a SOX and from auditable perspective, I think the ERP is a big challenge. Now, I think with the blockchain and with AI and all of this, I think it is. I mean, it is getting challenged.
Okay.
I've talked to like few of my colleagues in the industry, and they were all like, maybe in 10 years, maybe you don't have an ERP, right? That's
Okay.
definitely being discussed, right? And think about it, even in ERP today, when you run it at MRP and SAP
Yeah.
or whatever, it's still 10 hours, it's still
Correct.
12 hours, right? But these solutions are changing your simulations and everything else just in minutes.
Rapid.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's good to watch, see what happens, but definitely it's challenged right now.
So I believe once we started with the ERP around 2025 or 30 years back, now we have the cloud native ERPs coming up, and we were quite excited. So how do you see it will going to a bridge before completely getting disrupted with the new technologies?
I see that like now getting disrupted by a technology is much faster than what we think. So
Yeah.
it could be even faster. Probably cloud will not have its full cycle of,
Okay.
peak and coming down. It could be even it hits the peak, right? Or it's at the peak, then you come down fast. Yeah, I don't think that it could be even faster than what anybody can think, right?
Wonderful. So, but even then, Veena, in my view, in most of the organization, there are multiple type of organizations, small, the medium scale, and the large scale as well. So, ERP would remain for the foreseeable future, right? Before the big bang or the disruptions happen. So, for those kind of organization where they will may take another 5 years or 10 years to figure it out, what the change would like for them, how the things are going to be. Then the connectivity with the ERP is that advancing. So we have the APIs available now. Right. So, do you see those connectors and data transformation piece evolving as well?
Yeah, I think, the bigger question that we are having now is if you're just purely on an ERP journey and
Yeah.
you're not on an AI journey yet, right?
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
it does. API makes sense. But again, if you're already on an AI journey, I mean, you have all those MCP servers. There are A to A protocols,
Okay.
which is again using the API, right? So again, if you're on an AI journey, I mean, at least within the organization or within the ecosystem of your own applications, probably you don't need an API anymore,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Now, of course, if you're connecting with your customers, your suppliers, it all depends on how mature they are to replace it. So I do think that API will exist because not everybody going to be at the same speed or same level as your organization is. API will exist. I mean, I think with internal connectivity probably will change much.
Maybe the bigger wherever we have the bigger suppliers with the biggest spend, that is where the changes can happen first, and then the tail end suppliers or the business partner can take a bit longer through APIs.
And there are some suppliers who's like, it's they have their say in the world still, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
they do
yeah,
all this monopoly.
um,
But then there are suppliers who's like well in advance on some of
yeah.
this. So yeah, I mean, I think it's going to take a while where whole ecosystem to change.
Yeah, so I've experienced that specifically in the TMS project and transport management system. We have the legacy companies and much more muscle power with them, and they want to do their way only. Great. So just now coming to overall digitalization automation tool. So in your view, what should be the modern digital ecosystem look like, especially for supply chain?
I think at this point, right, I'm still figuring it out.
Mm-hmm.
For an example, one of the fundamental questions that's on the table is how is the automation tool like UiPath, Pega,
Mm-hmm.
right? Work Fusion, Power Automate, all of this, right?
Yeah.
Going to evolve in the agentic AI world, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't, okay, at least for me, I don't think I have figured it out. it's going to be a journey that where we need to see. Like for an example, if you pick one vendor and you're going with that, you are getting locked to that vendor, right?
Yeah.
But like I said, I think it is going to be a hybrid world for a while because you want to take an advantage of um, different unique speciality the others are bringing to the table. How do we really keep an ecosystem where it is like plug and play, right? For an example, today everybody's using GPT, but
Yeah.
tomorrow may be Croc, or tomorrow it may be, I don't know what's going to happen with Meta, right? Or
Yeah.
Gemini, right? So it, or it could be something brand new, right? Could
Yep.
provide. I mean, and I think in my view, each of these guys are strong in certain space. Like for translation, we are seeing Meta giving, particularly on the symbol, right? Meta giving the
Mm.
better results. Now, do we lock ourselves with one automation tools
Yeah.
and that's it? Or we have an ecosystem which will allow us to plug and play and automation then like, you know, look for a look for a tool which does. I mean, in my thought process, right, typical RPA, robotic automation, process automation will exist. Everything going to be AI. Maybe the
Okay.
proposition will change,
Mm-hmm.
right? But we will still have use cases which will be just automation,
Okay.
right? So whether we want to like use agentic AI framework to do that, or we
Mm.
need like an RPA to make it simple and democratize, so those are the questions I think still
Yeah.
being figured it out. But yeah, I mean, in my view, I mean, at this point at least, I'm looking out for everything that's coming to the industry and see how best that we can use. Of course, you can't use like everything like a bits and pieces. You really need to have one anchoring framework and platform, and then whatever the delta or whatever the ones that which is complementing this anchoring one, and that's when you start to build that ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, whether it depends on, I think, the need of the organization. I have seen companies who's using automation as an anchoring tool and then add the individual
Okay.
pieces. We are doing other way around. We are picking a framework for an agentic world, agentic AI, and then figuring out what do we need around that,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Of course, yeah. I mean, I think it's a strategy, I guess. Both will work, but you need
Mm.
to see where is your I mean, where is your requirements, right?
Yeah.
Where are you
Yeah.
tilting towards, and then you go and do the other piece as a complementary.
For
No,
sure.
but then every tool is having AI, right? I mean,
Yeah.
anything in the industry you talk about it, they all have an AI component to it. But again, but then how different they are, like, when SAP has the AI piece
Yeah.
or agent and all of that, right? How they differ from typical, like, your AWS or
Yeah.
Azure AI components, right? The difference that I see between like your ERP or like any business application tool
Yeah.
AI versus the AI tools
Yeah.
is actually it gives you really a framework which you can do experiments, you can record it, you
Yeah.
can really do the comparison to decide how you want to go after the whole ML ops, LLM ops,
Yeah.
DevOps, right? So these guys are providing better compared to business application. The business application
Okay.
is basically you decide what model that you want to do and you just
Mm.
deploy it. Probably then it's still okay. But
Mm-hmm.
when you're really trying to do the whole ML ops, LLM
Okay.
ops, DevOps, these guys are not having that
Yeah.
mindset.
Yeah.
So
But
yeah.
because their framework remains, the platform remains the legacy one. They're just adding the AI as on top, as just like a cherry, right?
Correct.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, Veena, if somebody is starting with the digital transformation, or they want to really reboot digital transformation, how do they assess the maturity level for themselves?
Well, I think in my view, I mean, this is something that what I do, it's a simpler way. I will look at all the business processes, right? And you have blocks in each of the processes, right? And each process, how is that executed, right? Whether what's the percentage of digital technology is being used, whether it's AI, whether it's automation, whether it is ERP, systematic ways of getting things done, and then you measure as a overall process maturity. And of course, you can't really look at every single process in your company. I would say pick your top 3, top 4, right? Which is really going to make or break your business, and then you start measuring, right? Um, and really focus on those and make it digitally enabled, right?
Okay.
Whichever technology it is. That's what we do, and it also gives us a way to relook at how the process works,
Mm-hmm.
right? And really see that whether we should reimagine it in a different way, right? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so that's how I do it. But then if you're starting your journey again, lay your foundation, right? Get your
Mm-hmm.
data ready. In my view, like, we started the journey somewhere, like, I think like a couple of years ago, and initial year has been data focus, and then we talked about building a foundational layer of the platform for the AI, right? What I mean by that is, how can you modularize the capability, right? Like
Yeah.
summarization or vision or translation, sentiment analysis, etc., right? We build that foundational blocks first. Now, almost like every week, we are releasing a couple of new use cases into the
Okay.
business, right? So, because it's basically taking those building blocks and
Mm-hmm.
reassembling it to the use cases that you need. And the data that we have is actually powering this acceleration. So, if you don't have the data, focus on that first. Without data, even if the tool is super duper, you're not going to get the results out of it, right? And of course, don't forget to invest in your people to bring that AI mindset, digital mindset. Like in our company, we run awareness programs. I call it as an awareness, but it's all
Okay.
inclusive. So it's not just AI training, but it's also some of the change management and showcasing how people see, etc., right? So we run that as a full blown program, and we do certify people, right? So we want to, I mean, I think probably in a year, I would think that, like, I want people, like, when they are thinking about the process, when they are thinking about the change,
Yeah.
they should think about how can I do this digitally first
Yeah.
before you think about manual
Cultural
stuff.
change, cultural change as well. So, Veena, just asking maybe the question in a different way. The CTIO or the CPO go for the shopping of the digital tool, digital technology. How they should shop it for? What exactly the digital tools should be picked up? Okay, this is what I want. This is the particular ERP I want. This is the AI tool I want. What should be the strategy for that?
Well, ERP, in my view, right, you make sure that you have a right governance in place, because any tool that we are bringing into table, reduce your customization, because that basically will tell you how standard your data is, how ready it will be for the rest of your digital journey, right? Each country has its customization, each function has its customization. It's very difficult, right? So for me, other than that, most of the ERPs are doing their job, right? At least the big players in the market, they are doing
Yeah.
their job,
Yeah.
right? But as long as you have more customization, of course, there are certain vendor doing bad versus certain vendor reasonably
Right.
flexible.
Yeah.
But customization is your first enemy when you really think about ERP or any business application that you choose in the industry, right? I know people come and say, even planning system, for an example, advanced planning tools, right? People come and say, you can do your process the way you want and you can customize the way you want. Trust me, if you go down in the path, this is a never ending project. So you really need to make sure that 80-20 rules, right? You just follow that 80% standard and 20% customization. Then it's
Customization.
actually set that right foundation for you. So then I think it becomes like, whether they are technology wise, how well they are advanced, whether it can last you for at least another 10 years or 5 years, right? And are they on a latest concepts like, memory, cloud, all those other things, then you can evaluate the rest of it, right? The company viability, pricing, and all of that, right? But your foundation is really, can you stick to the 80-20 rules? I rather, if you don't, rather you do yourself is the best, right?
Yeah.
And then when we are getting on to this digital transformation journey, obviously make sure you put your right bet on your data side, right?
Okay.
Again, there are typical, relation database, versus there are Databricks, Snowflake, and these guys are like who's actually looking at the way how you organize the data, how you virtualize data, how you really manage the data is in a much different ways, right? So You look at your cost, look at your technology, which will enable you to the next level. So when you're selecting the tool, you just don't select it for the purpose of just the data lakes, right? You look for it, how it is going to support your next journey. And then when it comes to the AI, again, I would say that at this point, don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? Because things are changing and you really need to have that muscle power and the flexibility to change with the industry, right? I would say that we will still see big change, I don't know, for a couple of years to come, right? So it's just evolving in my world. It's not really matured. So you can't really say one versus the other. So you really need that flexibility. So whichever tool and platform which will allows you to do that flexibility is what it is. Now, again, people ask me whether we should do cloud, complete cloud, or we should do prime and on-prime and all of that, right? I believe it depends on the nature of your business plus the cost, right? Because yes, you don't have an upfront cost with the cloud, but then at pay per use, obviously, as your users increases, use cases increases, you will end up paying more. Data in, data out, all of this data in and out is going to cost you more. So do your calculation better. But if your business includes some of the confidential data where your customers are not going to allow you to put everything into cloud, you need a hybrid, for an example. Today in the industry, you can do on-prem complete, but then your data center managed by somebody else. I mean, all those are available, right? So in a way, you look at your strategy, what you want to do, not just today, but then maybe in 3-5 years, and then choose the right strategy, right? The the more frequent that you are changing the strategy, the less frequent that you can deliver the business value also, right? Yes, you can make a smaller adjustments here and there. Technology adjustment, we could do it, but make sure that your foundation and the right selection, right? So that will continue to, because you change from one platform to another platform. It's basically a migration project, right? You can't continue to deliver business value. So I think it's going to be really critical in those decision points, I would say.
Wonderful, Veena. So we are coming to close to this session's end today, and there are a lot more exciting discussions. I'm fully enjoying the conversation and really excited about that, and want to touch upon data, big data analysis, data visualization, risk element, of course, the ESG, women empowerment, which is close to your heart as well, and of course, telling a lot about the youngsters what they should do. So would be excited to have the next sessions done with you very soon.
Yeah. Thank you, Sandeep, for having me. It's a nice conversation. Maybe in the next one, I can ask you some question too.
I need to be then prepared. Thank you so much, Veena. Thank you for your time today, and we'll connect again soon. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.